QuickBooks Pro Desktop 2021. Memorized transactions, bill form. Let's get into it with Intuit's QuickBooks Pro Desktop 2021. Here we are in our memorized transaction practice file. We currently have the open windows open. You can open the open windows by going to the view dropdown, selecting the open windows list. We're going to start off with memorized transactions that would result at some point within the cycle to decreases in the cash account. Remember, you can make memorized transactions for many different financial transactions. We're going to start with the cycle for like the accounts payable cycle or the payments cycle. So we'll start here with the bills. Remember that the decreases to the checking accounts or outflows could either start with a bill, which would then increase typically an expense, the other side go into accounts payable, and then you pay the bill, which would be decreasing cash, and the other side would be going and decreasing the accounts payable. The other way you could do, obviously, the payment side is to simply decrease the checking account directly, which would be to write a check, which would decrease the checking account directly. Now, when you're talking about decreases, then it might be useful to enter the bill first, because if you actually want the automatic transaction to enter the bill for repetitive type of transactions, then it will automatically, if you make it enter the bill, it will automatically go into this pay bills area. Then you can monitor the bills that you want to pay and then pay them at that point in time. Also, if you automatically enter the bill on this side and you use the bank feeds, for example, to clear a transaction that is going to be paid electronically every month, that gives you that kind of double check. So then you can use the bank feeds to match to the bill that has already been entered, so that you can at least kind of fill it in on your side, have a double check on your system telling you that you should be entering the bill each month. And then the bank feeds, once it's automatically taken out, will then match it out so that if there is a problem, if it doesn't come out of your bank automatically or something happens, then you will know because you're still entering it on your side. You're not completely waiting until it clears the bank. So those are some kind of examples why the bill side might be a useful way to go, and then we'll take a look at entering the actual check as an automatic transaction in a future presentation. But obviously, if we enter the check, then you might want to use the reminder function more so that you would actually remind yourself that you need to enter the check and then actually physically enter the check rather than have it do it automatically. Okay, so let's see a couple of these. I'm going to enter a bill. We're going to say we want to enter a bill, and I'm going to enter it into the prior month, then the current month I'm in. So I'm going to enter it, in my case, in September, so that it will be due in October, so that we can see what will happen in terms of the bell icon up top, which is the reminders or the clock icon, which will tell us that it will be due. So let's say that we have rent first. So let's say we're paying Mr. Landlord, because that's who we pay our rent. So I'm going to set up that as a vendor, Mr. Landlord, and we're going to put this on, I'm going to say 091520. And so that was prior month as the current date, so that I'll then, when I memorize it, have a transaction that will come due. I'm going to say this is, let's say 1100. Then the due date, we're going to say bill is going to be due on 9/25. So it's going to be due on 9/25. So I'll keep that as the due date. And then I'm going to enter the expense, which is going to be the rent. So let's say rent expense is going to be here. So then I want to memorize this transaction. So to memorize it, one way to do it is to go to the edit dropdown, and I want to go down to the memorizing of the bill, memorize the bill. And then we have our options up top where we can name it. So I'm going to call it Mr. Landlord, or we might just call it rent. Might be an easier name. And then add to my memorize list, meaning I want to add to the list that I need to enter the bill, right? That's one way you can do it. And then later on, you would then enter the bill and then pay the bill. So that's one way. The other way you might do it is to say, I want you to automatically enter the transaction, enter the bill automatically, so that I can then track it on the pay bill side of things. I just want you to enter it. Don't even tell me, just enter the bill. I'm not going to do it myself. Just enter it, and then I'll see it on the pay bill side of things, and or when I match it up to a bank feed. Let's do the first one first. Add to my reminder list. Now, how often is this going to happen? I want this to be monthly, so we're going to say monthly, next date. So the next date we happen this on, let's say, is going to be the 15th. So I'm going to say 10/15, the next day to basically enter the bill transaction which once I enter the bill, the due date may be later than that. So I'm going to say 10/15 and then okay. So now I've entered the transaction, I've entered the bill. So now I'm going to record this bill for the prior month on the 10/29. I'm going to say save and close. Save and close. That's been recorded. And then if I go to my reminders up top, now I go to my reminders, open up the reminders, and I look at my memorized transactions, which now has the item that's past due because I entered it in the past month and I've got to enter this transaction. If I go to my bills, I have the item that I need to pay the bill. It's not due yet because I entered a bill and then I saved the bill at this point. So if I close this back out, in other words, the bill that I just entered is right here. I'm going to create a checking account real quick, which is going to be checking account. It's going to be a bank account so that I can open this transaction. And there we have it. So there's the bill that we've entered. Closing this back out, the list then, if I go to the lists drop down and I take a look at the memorized transaction list, there's our memorized transaction. Now it's due on the 10/15. That's when I'm supposed to do it. That's past the date. So if I double click on it, it will then generate the bill, the next one that would be necessary. And then if I was to record that, and you can also find this if I was to close this out without recording it and close this out, then I can go to my reminder up top and I can go to that red reminder. I can double click on that. It takes me to the item that we need to record. Then I can double click on this. It generates the bill for me. And then if I enter this, it's going to then say, it's going to increase the accounts payable. The other side's going to go to the expense, and then I'll have to pay it off. So I'm going to say save and close. And then now the next due date is 11/15, closing this out. Then if I look at the reminders then, if I go to the reminders up top with the clock, now I don't have the memorized transactions, but I have the fact that I need to pay the bill. So now the bill is due, and I have that in the pay bill. So I've got two bills to pay. One's past due. One is not at this point in time. So I'm going to close this back out, and that's going to be, and then if I go into pay bills, you'll see those two bills now that I have entered. So I've entered the two bills now that need payment. So closing this back out. Let's try another one. And this time, let's do like health insurance, for example, might be something that repeats itself. This time, instead of saving the bill, I'm just going to record the bill. Instead of a reminder, I'm just going to record it. So if I say enter the bill and I say I'm going to pay the insurance company is who I'm going to pay this time. Quick add, similar process. I'm going to say this is going to be 10, let's say 10/15/20, and then I'm going to say it's due on 10/25/20. So let's keep that. That's fine. And then I'm going to say this is for 500 that we're going to pay monthly to insurance. So there's the bill that I'm going to enter. I'm going to memorize it now. We're going to go to the edit drop down. We're going to memorize the bill. And this time, what I want to do is I want to make it automatically enter the bill. I just want you to enter the bill so that I can track it not in the memorized transactions, not to remind me that I need to record it, but it's going to record it automatically, and then I can track it in the payment option. So then I can just sort it when I need to pay it. So I'm just going to say just record the bill so that the reminder isn't the reminder. The reminder will be in the payment side when I pay it, when I sort my payables. So I'm going to say, okay, let's hit the drop down and say this needs to happen monthly as well. And then I'm going to say the next one is on 10. I'm going to say 10/15. So I'll say 10/15 for the reminder. And then I'm going to say number remaining. I'm going to keep that blank because I want this to be an ongoing thing. Days in advance. We could record basically days in advance of the due date. So you could set the due date of when you want this to be on, or the days in advance here to give you, like the cushion. So I'm going to say, okay, it takes a picture of it. I'm going to close this back out. And then I'm also going to save this transaction. So I'll save this one. So I'm going to say this one, actually cancel this. I want to make this in the prior month. I'm going to make this 09. And so then I'm going to save it. Now what I've done is I closed the company file, go into the File tab and close, and then reopened the company file. So the next time I open the company file, then it's going to tell me you have the entered memorized transaction that needs to be recorded automatically. So it's basically saying I'm just going to record this transaction So I'm going to enter the checked item now. It's just going to automatically record it. And so we're going to say QuickBooks has automatically entered one memorized transaction. So I'm going to say OK. And then I'm going to open up my windows here. I'm going to go to the View tab and open Windows. So there we have that. And then I'm going to go to my reminders now and check out my reminders at this point. And if I hit the bills drop down, so now we have the insurance company that we entered, and then the memorized transaction that was entered that are now in the pay bills. They're due. So note that there's no memorized transactions over here because it has been recorded. It just basically gave me a pop-up saying just I'm gonna do it right now. It gave me a little thing tells you I'm gonna do it before it did it. But it wasn't something just in the memorized transactions that we'd have to go up here and then enter. So then if I did it this way and I close this back out, then when I pay the bills, I can check it when I pay the bill. So I basically said, hey, just enter the bill automatically so that then I can sort it over here in the pay bills. And so then over here, I can decide which bills I want to pay. So I think that's a good system to use for a bill, because then you can have the bill being automatically input. And then if you need to adjust it, you can go back and basically adjust the bill if you need to. But then it'll show up over here in the payment side of things. And again, this also is really nice if you have bank feeds where I was going to pay the insurance automatically with an electronic payment and then wait till it clears the bank basically to match it up to the bill, because then I get to enter it on my side as well as the bank side. And if any problems happen with that electronic transfer, I'll be able to see it because I'll see that bill has not been matched up. And that'll give us that kind of double check of entering two sides of the books rather than being reliant on the bank feeds entirely. Another common area is if you had, say, a bill that you need to enter for interest on a loan, if there was a loan outstanding. Now, the loan can be a little bit tricky because the interest and the principal can be different. So let's say I pay the bank for loan. So, the bank is the vendor. I'm going to set it up as a vendor, and let's say we're paying them once again 0915 20, and we're paying them $1,000, and let's keep the due date on 9/25. Okay, and then I'm going to say that the account that we're going to have might be loan payable. So we have loan payable, which would be a liability account that would need to go down. I'm going to say tab, and I'm going to set up the liability account, and this is going to be a loan, and I'm going to say continue, and that's it. All right, and but maybe according to the amortization table, I'm only paying like 975 or something, and then I also have interest expense, which would be the difference in this case, the 25. So in that case, this breakout between the loan and the interest may differ from month to month. So I can't really memorize like the check exactly. I can memorize the same amount's going to go out, but this breakout will be different. So if I memorize the bill, then I can still go into the bill periodically and then change these two as I need when I create the next one. So for example, if I go to the edit dropdown and I say that I want to memorize the bill, I'm going to memorize the bill, and then again I could automatically record it, but I don't want to do it this time. I want to remind myself, so that I want to remind that I need to make the payment, but then I need to change these two when I make the payment. So what I'm going to do is have the reminder up top, and then I'm going to say that this is going to happen monthly again, which is often the case, and then I'll say that this is going to be the next time, let's say 10/15 that we're going to have here, and that'll be it. So I'm going to say okay. And so there's that. Now I'll record the one on 9/15. So I'm going to say save and close. And so that one's been recorded. If I go into my reminders then, reminders up top, we should have another reminder, transaction due, and that one is going to be this item. If I double click on it, it's going to take us to our list. So there's our list, and we have this one. This one's due. So I'm going to say, okay, let's double click on it. It's going to create the bill for the following month. So there's the bill that reminds me. But now this interest and the principal may have changed now, even though the amount is the same. So now I have the opportunity to say, okay, well now I'm paying 980 here because of the amortization table has changed and whatnot, and this is 20. So you can kind of memorize the transaction and then be able to tweak it that way for the minor changes that are going to happen. And then I can say, all right, save and close, done, and then we have that transaction that's going to be entered. So even if you need to adjust the transaction, you could still use the memorization to kind of get you going and then make the adjustment as necessary. This, of course, would work for any other kind of transaction that's going to be standard. So if you had a bill for like software company, you're paying like a software, and you pay a subscription like monthly, we'd say that's the software company, 091520, we're paying them, you know, $200 a month. I'll keep the due date there, and this is going to be, I'll say computer and internet. And then if I was going to memorize this, edit, and I would go down to memorized. And once again, now this one is going to be the same each time. So I would like to just automatically just record the thing, and then I'll check it, and then I'll be able to check it when I make the payment or when it clears the bank in bank feeds. So I'm going to say, all right, do this like monthly again. And then maybe this on, I'm going to say 15, and then number remaining, if there's going to be, like, if we have a term of how many times it's going to happen, and then days in advance to enter, you can record like a cushion there. So I'm going to say okay, and then I'm going to close this, or let's record this one. I'm going to go ahead and record it. So let's say save and close. Now it's not going to have been entered yet, the next one, until I close the software and then open it back up. So I have the bills but no memorized transactions. So then if I close it, if I go to File and then Close the Company, and then it takes me into my intro screen, and then I'm just going to go right back into it. So then I'm going to say go back into it, and if the time period had passed at this point in time, right, for the next time period has now passed, it should give me that pop-up saying, hey, we've got this automatic transaction. We just want to automatically record it. So it's going to say, do you want me to just enter this memorized transactions? In other words, I don't need to go up to the bell to remind me. It's just telling me, hey, I'm just going to enter this. This is my last check. Just hit the little blue button. We're going to say, all right, do it. And then okay. And then I'm going to go to the view drop down and say open windows. And then I'll maximize the screen here. And then let's take a look at our transaction list up top. So notice the memorized item is not there because we didn't memorize it. We just told it to record it. And now we've got these two items in the software that we need to be recording here in the bills now. So if I close this back out and we take a look at our bills on this side, we've got all these transactions and the two for the software now, one that we entered and then the memorized transaction that had been entered automatically. And we can sort them now and decide when do we want to pay them in this section, or we can match them up once again to the bank feeds once they clear the bank if we have some kind of electronic transfer system set up. So I'm going to close this back out. Next time we'll do a similar kind of thing, looking at a similar list of items we can pay, but rather than using the enter bill, we'll use the check, directly entering the check and basically using reminders to remind us about them.